It's an honor to be co-organizer for the second year in a row for this patriotic meeting. And it's very good that also we have improved our women quota finally. Yes, last time was a big issue, so I'm happy with that. And I'm happy also that we are getting more consistent in our relationship altogether, and that we can with that look forward for a bright future of cooperation and multiple aspects altogether. So I don't want to talk even more, but just want to say thank you again for everyone that showed up to this morning after a few hours of sleep.
Thank you, Davide. I'd like now to just mention Dora Hidash here. So she's the incoming International Secretary of Fidelitas. She's going to be representing Fidelitas on the panel today, and just generally, because she's new to the role, it would be good to get to know her, invite her to your conferences, help her settle into her new role. So congratulations, Dora, on your new role. And also we have the International Director of Fidelitas here, Barbara Hegedush. And we just will invite her up to say a few words before we move on.
Thank you very much. Dear international partners, dear friends, in the name of Fidelitas, it's my pleasure to welcome you here in Budapest. Let me tell you a personal experience. I am a member of the Fidelitas from 2010, and I am working in the international field inside the organization about 2013. One of my most special moments was when in August I could participate in the CPAC in Texas. And for me it was kind of shocking here, the panel discussion, the speeches, and how many common values we share and how many common challenges we face with. Earlier, about 5 years ago, we talked about inside Fidelitas how we could establish more connection, better relations with the American partners. But we thought that we are far away, we are a small country, we don't have too much common topics, and we don't have too much opportunity to meet and establish real connections with American partners. But it's very great to see that now it became real, and from years to years we can establish better connections and better alliances. Because we see that we have common challenges, common values, and we as youth organizations, we have to fight for what kind of world, what kind of nation we would like to live in the future. So I can say that in the future also Fidelitas would like to be a strong partner in this fight, and I hope you will enjoy your stay here in Budapest. Finally, I would like to recommend a travel destination, because I am from Veszprém. I'm deputy mayor in Veszprém. It is a smaller city, 1 hour from Budapest. And this year, Veszprém is the European Capital of Culture, and we will have a lot of festivals, programs. So if you would like, if you have time to travel more in Hungary, I recommend to visit our region. It's close to Lake Balaton. So I hope in the future we can meet also in other panel discussions, and I hope that in the future we can make even better alliances in the future. Thank you very much.
Barbara, we're pleased to have some parties as well here that are returning from last year's summit, which we conducted across the river in Pest. My decade-long friend, Gavin Wax, the former board member of the Young Republicans, the president of the New York Young Republican Club, my other good friend, Philip Brusselmans, member of the Flemish Parliament and the president of Vlaams Belang Jongeren, Ras Granot, the international representative of the Likud Youth, and Alessandro Propiter, the board member of the FAO Youth from Austria. We're also pleased to have so many new parties speaking this year at this event that we've not had address our previous events. So I guess the first one is Cyprian Turienko, the designated representative from the Croatian Homeland Movement Youth. It's a fast rising new party in Croatia. Jose Matias, the international secretary of Juventude Čega. Max Borishwo, the president of Adrenaline, the youth wing of the ADR party from Luxembourg, and also to Maria Zlinska from Mladi Espajenci, the SPD youth, okay? Okay. So the youth wing of the Czech Freedom and Direct Democracy Party, and also we have Lawrence Naxa, who actually was on our online event, which we did 2 years ago for the Transatlantic Patriot Summit. So he's actually from the Christian Democrats here in Hungary, and he's the leader of the youth wing. So as you know, this project is very important for us because at Republicans for National Renewal, we try to connect Republican institutions with patriots across Europe, national conservatives across Europe. And I think that this type of format is particularly suitable for connecting young patriots, people that really want to push the movement forward on both sides of the Atlantic. And I think we're very honored to have kind of started the ball rolling in many ways for getting young Republicans and college Republicans connected with several of these European movements that before did not really deal with people in the United States. So, put simply, I mean, young people who believe in the future of the West must unite, they must work together in order to defeat leftism, globalism, and these other issues which become pervasive in universities, high schools, even the streets of our cities. And we should not be afraid to put our nations first and follow the message of President Trump and Prime Minister Erdogan. So as in the past 2 years, we will, after the conclusion of the summit, we will circulate a statement which hopefully that most of the members here will sign on to, and within a week or two that will be approved, and that will have our shared values as the basis of future cooperation. So with that, I do want to introduce my colleague, Mr. Mark Ivanyo, the Executive Director of Republicans for National Renewal, and he'll be moderating the discussion today. And Mark will say a little bit about R&R, and then we'll begin.
Thank you, Jay. It's really nice to be here in this beautiful venue. Big thank you again to East Bond and Daniel Institute for having us, and also our provost. So a little bit about Republicans for National Renewal. We have a domestic mission, which is to renew the Republican Party, make it a party of the average person, a populist party, from the grassroots level up, empower the regular person to take power instead of having the establishment dictate what we need to do. We also have an international mission, as Jay pointed out, which is to build that bridge between Republicans and youth leaders over here of conservative parties who've been doing populism or national conservatism, whatever you want to call it. It's all very similar. It's your nation comes first. And so it's really fitting that CPAC Hungary, the theme this year is United We Stand. We've been doing this for 3 years now. We've been connecting, building friendships. Last time we had coverage by CBS News. We also had an article written by the Anti-Defamation League. It was a gathering of right-wing extremists. That's a badge of honor, really, because they are worried, they're concerned that conservatives will get together, form alliances, and stop being on the defensive and go on the offensive. And so it really is a privilege and honor to be here and be hosting this event with you all. And so with that said, I'm going to get to the first question. We have a microphone here, we have a couple microphones here, so on this side, feel free to share those two, this side, share that one. And so for the first question, illegal immigration is still a problem for both Europe and America. With our southern borders being invaded by masses of economic migrants, not refugees, people posing as refugees with economic migrants by and large, how can we counter this problem? And what does this pose? You there?
Maybe coming from the southern border, I will address the question first, and then we can share is Mike. In Italy, we are struggling with this situation of immigration because we are on the front line from Europe, especially for the seaside that we have together with Libya, Tunisia, and a bit of Algeria. So we have a big problem because Europe is not addressing the question in their own country. It's not addressing the question of stabilizing a big place like Libya or Tunisia, and we are struggling in that situation because since also our government take over in September, the number are only getting worse and worse. So more migrants are arriving, more boats are coming, more people is dying on the sea. And that is a really bad situation that we are trying to address with several new laws that are approved by the parliament. But still, the question for a European perspective, I think, has to be reconsidered also in a more, not only in, also the pushback, also on a more strong approach for the law enforcement addressing the question, but also in geopolitical way to think what we want to do with our partner in the south corner of Europe, so in the Northern Africa, because we cannot treat and we cannot think to deal with this country as we have done in the past, with all the Arab Springs and whatever, that leads only to chaos and chaos and chaos, and we cannot also try to impose other values that are not fitted for the population over there, that are only trying to destabilize more and more. We are looking at the situation in Tunisia where the government is on bankrupt. Basically, they try to get a new fund from the international community, and the European Union don't want to help them because they want to push for liberal values and some stuff that is not in the interest of the Tunisian people, and that is only making the situation worse and worse. So that is more like provocation also to try to consider from the southern country and from the southern border of Europe that we have to approach, we have to reconsider how to deal with the Northern Africa situation.
Thank you, David.
I want to say I think this is a great first question to ask because I think legal migration is definitely the issue of our times. I think my colleagues in Western Europe can definitely speak to this as well. And this was obviously the issue that catapulted President Trump into the presidency. It's an issue that he brought to the forefront of the American body politic and the national psyche. And why is it so important? I mean, you mentioned the economic migrants, the economic component of it, and certainly a massive factor where they're trying to depress, domestic wages. It's a race to the bottom. We've seen a loss of purchasing power. We've seen, the erosion of jobs, erosion of communities, etc. because of this mass migration. That's certainly one component. I would argue the most insidious component of this is that the left, particularly in the United States, but I'm sure also in Europe and elsewhere, they've moved beyond persuasion politics. They're not interested in persuading anyone to vote for them, not the persuadable middle. They're not trying to make a case for the validity of their ideas, for the soundness of their policy, or for the success of their time in government. Rather, they're trying to import new voters. They're trying to change the electorate. They're trying to change the electoral makeup of the country. And it's had a massive impact on the United States. When we had our first amnesty in the 1980s, for example, California moved from being a Republican bastion, Texas of the country, really the quintessential American dream, and it turned overnight into the most leftist, liberal of states. And this happened as a direct response to the amnesty, to the illegal migration, and this continuing flooding of the country. And our friends on the left, if we can even call them that, our liberal friends, they'll wax poetically about, this is a country of immigrants, this is a country of a melting pot, etc. Yes, but they ignore the fact that it was legal migration, we had assimilation, we had similar cultural values, and we promoted a national unity, a national consensus, and within a generation, most of these second, third generation Americans were completely indistinguishable from first generation, from native-born Americans. But what we're seeing today is a complete breakdown of American society. We've embraced multiculturalism as fast as we possibly could, and we've seen really no benefit from it. Our cities have become less safe, our culture has become eroded, and we've seen all of these similar issues that I know Western Europe and many of our European friends and allies have seen with their forms of mass migration. We've seen crime rates, we've seen drugs, we've seen the sex trafficking, we've seen the opioids, we've seen entire communities in the heartland of the United States be totally gutted and the powers that be are putting all of their energy, all of their effort into assisting illegal immigrants at the expense of native-born Americans who, they consider flyover country, and they could care less about. So the importing of new voters, the economic depreciation of wages, and creating a society that is not united, that is not, there's no unifying culture. It's like having multiple nations under one roof. They're like trying to create some kind of American Yugoslavia, and it's creating a situation where the nation has never been more divided. So how do we handle this? I mean, the simple way to handle it is that in the United States, I think in some cases we could look to Europe. And I know we get accused of, populists get accused of being on one hand parochial because we're America first, but on the other hand, then we're attacked for, coming over here and exchanging with our colleagues of a similar mind. But, in Europe, you have far stronger laws on things like naturalization, on citizenship. In the United States, we have a much more liberal approach to these things. We have birthright citizenship. It's very easy to become a naturalized citizen, and that's having an impact, again, on the electorate and our demographic makeup in terms of who can vote. But we should strengthen our citizenship laws. We should end dual citizenship. We should end a lot of these policies that are promoting this mass migration and how it's impacting our elections and our, the national vote. But in addition to that, beyond just the reforms on the legal side and the constitutional side, we also just need to get serious. And it is absolutely ridiculous that the United States has put tons of money and efforts into protecting the borders of countries overseas, while our own southern border is a complete, floodgate for all the vices of society, whether it's the mass migration, the opioids, the sex trafficking, whatever. So we need to build a wall, which I wanted to get in, at least on this question. I know here in Hungary they built a beautiful wall, and they had to circumnavigate some of the ridiculous European laws. So I know Prime Minister Viktor Orban, I think he built it a few feet in to Hungary, so they can technically come into Hungary, but then there's a fence right as they come in. So we have to get serious, we have to get real. We need real border security. We need it now. It's the issue of our day. And if we don't do it soon enough, then the country's going to continue to spiral and descend. So I guess that's the spiel.
Yeah, that's a good point. America was known as a melting pot, and now we're a fruit salad. Everyone's just sitting there and not actually playing together. Now, why don't we get somebody from this side to answer the question?
We're not opposite sides.
Same line.
Yeah, so in my opinion, firstly, we should explore the cause of migration. On one hand, of course, it's a fact that the birth rate is extra low in Europe. So that's why maybe we can say that because of labor force, immigrants are, I would say, needy. But on the other hand, the globalist says that so that's a stated goal of globalists, that to create a mixed society, and because of that, so that's the reason that they can or they would like to weaken nation states and to destroy nation states as well. But I can say that in Hungary we have another third way to have more or to motivate the birth rate. And also I can say that Hungary became Europe's border guard. We built, under the Orban government, we have built a defensive line in the southern border. And despite the pressure from the European Union, we made a referendum where almost, the Hungarian people have said no to illegal migration. And I can say that Hungary is one of the safest countries right now in the world. And also I would like to mention that assimilation is kind of question that Islam and Christianity is not compatible with each other. And we have historical proofs for that, because in the 15th and the 16th century, they lived under the Ottoman Empire, and it was like 150 years where the Islam and Christianity lived beside each other. And before this period, there were 4 million Christians, and after this period, it's decreased only to 1 million Christians in Hungary. So I think I can say that this is a huge historical evidence for that the illegal migrants and the Islam culture is not absolutely not compatible with the Christian culture.
After you.
Your guest. I'm at home.
No,
So we know that your question is about economy, and immigration policy can get hurt the economy, and that's the reason that there are more and more immigrants getting inside Europe or Israel or the States. It's get hurt the economy, and when the economy is low, there are more and more extremists getting inside the country. And it's get us to the second challenge of us, that's the homeland security. And the homeland security is one of the biggest challenge of the immigration. As Victor Orban used to say, zero immigrants, zero terror attacks. It's perfect. And so terror is splitting to two big subjects. One of them is incitement, and the second one is organizing. So, as taxpayers, all of us that paying our taxes, we want to look after the educational system. So, if there is imams or fathers or rabbis, it doesn't matter. Our sermons terror, we need to look after it, and the immigration makes it happen. So that's it.
Well said. Larry?
I just want to tell you a story, and you can understand the situation here in Hungary. I'm a member of the Hungarian Parliament, and several years ago, a Swedish member of the Parliament was here in Budapest, and we had a lovely lunch. And over the lunch, we discussed a lot of things, illegal migration as well. And when I spoke and I told him that we build a fence and we are not allowing anybody to enter illegally to the territory of Hungary, and we defend our borders, and he suddenly said, "Shh, you cannot say this out loud because somebody is videotaping you and your political career will be done." And I said, easy man, it's Hungary, it's not Sweden. You don't have to worry about that. So you can speak freely here, and you can tell your opinion. Because we experience in the European Union and European politics, we experience it a lot, that in NATO forums, in Council of Europe forums, European Union forums, we are there, we are making our statements, we negotiate, we have debates, we have a strong standpoint, and a lot of politicians in the room are texting us, "Well done, well said, very good. Come on man, speak it out loud, please." "Oh, I cannot do that because of the media at home, because of the government parties, because of the coalition, because they are attacking us, so I cannot do that." But at the toilet, they are doing that. Well said. So that's what we experience day by day, week by week in the European politics. And actually we have a solution called the Hungary Helps Program. We are helping on the spot. So people coming from African countries, people coming from Middle East countries, and we bring help there. Not the problem here, we bring the help there. And that's a solution. We are building schools there, churches, hospitals, because if everybody leaves, that country collapsing. Nothing will happen there. So, and what I see, for example, in Africa, it's mainly a concern now in Italy as well, and everywhere else in Europe. that the Western civilization, US, Western European countries, UN, are lecturing them. Ideological colonization. And we are not focusing on developments. China does, Russia does, India does, Indonesia does, the Arabic countries does, Saudi Arabia does. But we are not. We are just ideological colonization in these countries, and we are saying that, oh, you don't have an abortion law, you don't have an LGBT law. You do that first, and then after, we receive some package, some financial aid, so on. And we had during President Trump, we had a really good deal, Hungary Health Program and USAID. Really good cooperation. We have together for persecuted Christians, the first primary migrants countries in Africa, in the Middle East. And then the Biden administration came, and the USAID said that persecuted Christians is no longer our top priorities, top 100 priorities. It's not even there. So we are not want to cooperate with you. It absolutely doesn't matter to us, this problem. So you should solve yourself. And I think that's a problem, because we can do this program, we can help a lot of people, millions of people, but Hungary is a small country, so we need allies for that. Helping on the spot. And that's the solution for solving migration issues, not to import everybody here, not to import voters, because they just think that it's an economical and political question, not a cultural question, not a religion question. It's just an economic question. The first 100,000 people came to Germany back in 2015. Out of the first 100,000 people, 80 were working after 6 months. 80. So that was the reality there. And they all told that it's just an economical question. We need workers, so we bring workers. And that's not how it works, and we should defend our countries, because what we see in Germany, some parts of France, they will outnumber us very soon. And it's become not a minority question, but a majority question soon, and they will run for president, for mayors, for representatives, so on. So they are taking over the countries there. That's what we are not allowing to happen in Hungary. We should stick to our strict policy about borders and illegal migration. Thank you.
Very well said.
Maybe if I can. Well, thank you so much for the invitation. It's a great honor to be here, and Portugal sends some greetings to all of you, and is happy to cooperate in many ways that we can find together. The reality in Portugal became very complicated recently for the last 4 or 5 years, and we can see that the people really change, and we start suffering a real massive immigration. And right now, our socialist government is trying to do something that is really painful. They are trying to legalize illegal immigration, and we already can see the signs of that. I will tell you something that is happening now that the globalists and the leftists are doing in Portugal. We are a proud nation. We are proud of our history, and we had a past that we went to the seas and we discovered some part of the world. And what's happening is that our leftists and our globalists, they are trying to put us to discuss the past. They want to discuss they want to destroy our symbols. They want to speak about colonization. They want to speak about the people that were great in our countries. And what we see is that they don't want to speak about the present and about the future. And what's happening in Portugal is a new way of colonization, of exploring these people. And we are start to see these migrants coming, living in a very, very bad situation. That creates problems even for us in Portugal, because our women don't feel safe anymore in Lisbon, don't feel safe in the suburbs. Our children can't go to the school for free, and we already feel that kind of problems, and that is affecting us. And what is strange is that Chega in Portugal is the only party that is speaking about this, and they don't want to discuss with us. They want to discuss with people already died. They want to discuss with our symbols. They want to discuss with our history, and that's a terrible mistake. And we are trying to speak about that. That's the point I wanted to tell the discussion. Thank you for this.
Thank you, Jose. We don't have Philip close this in the next question.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. First of all, good morning, and thank you for the invitation again. I heard some very interesting things, and one that I remember the most is what you were saying about getting outnumbered. And in Belgium, it's already the case. It's sad to say, but we are the perfect example of how it should not be done. In Brussels, 70% of the children under the age of 12 years are migrants, Islamic migrants. In Antwerp, it's around 55%. In my city, Sint-Niklaas, it's around 50%. So it's lost. It's sad to say, but we lost our biggest cities, and it's something that is completely our own fault. What we did in the 90s and also the beginning of the years 2000, after the working migrants, that's not the case anymore. In the beginning of the year 2000, we didn't have such strict laws on becoming a citizen of Belgium, like you said. You say sometimes European laws are more an example for the United States to follow, but in Belgium it's not the case. In 2004, the Liberal government, they passed a law, and the name was the Quick Belgium Law. And the only goal of that law was that you could become a Belgian citizen with a Belgian ID within a few months, without any exam, without any other rules. You just apply for the Belgian citizenship, and after you pay 20 or 30 euros, and you get your ID. And so what happened is that a lot of migrants did that, and today we are suffering, if we talk about legal migration, with family migration. We see that 55% of migrants coming to Belgium are family of migrants that are already there. We see, for example, Mohammed from Turkey, who has been living in Belgium for 10 years, and after that 10 years, he brings his sister, his father, his uncle, his daughters, I don't know how many wives he has, but they all come into our country, and we can laugh at that, but it's the case nowadays, and that's something my party, Vlaams Belang, really wants to change, and we want to impose a migration stop, fully stop in Belgium, because we are things are already too bad. So I think that's the only thing we can do as Flemish or as Belgians, is to put in a full migration stop on legal migration for the next 10 years, and first solve the problems that we suffer. Now, and with an example, because the leftists will say, yeah, okay, it's true, there are a lot of migrants, but it's good for our society, we are multicultural now. First of all, I don't believe in multicultural societies. I do believe that every society needs a leading culture, so per definition, every good society is monocultural at first. But to give you an example, I had a working visit last week on Friday. I was invited by a prison director, and he said, you should come have a look. They built a new prison, it's close to where I live. And I said, okay, so I went over there, and at a certain point I asked him, when a lot of people were already gone, and I said quietly, what's the percentage of Belgians in jail? And he said to me, and I'm not kidding you, 75% of the people here don't have a European nationality. 75%. 20% have a Belgian nationality, would have a multicultural background, and only 5% were real Flemish people in jail. And to give you an example, don't let that happen in Hungary or every other country that is represented here.
Very well said, Philip. Now for the next question, together we are a force. We clearly see the challenges facing conservatives around the world, brought to us by a liberal world order. And so the difference is that conservative Patriot side, we are about 40 years behind networking. We don't coordinate with each other as well, we're not well funded. And so we have a lot of work to do. How can we cooperate more closely? And what opportunities do we have to develop better cooperation? Explicitly, not answering yet.
I will take this question first, and I will keep it short so everyone. Is it on? Yeah. I will keep it short so everyone gets the opportunity to speak. Yeah, I think it's a problem more in Europe. There's conservative parties first of all, we have two kinds of conservative parties in many different states in Europe. The right wing, the real conservatives, and the so-called conservatives. In Austria and Germany, it's a real problem because the conservatives, the Christian conservatives are not really Christian anymore and not conservatives. So that's the first problem, that we have many different kinds of conservatism in Europe. But I think events like this are a good start, but we all have to be multiplicators when we go home today or tomorrow to bring also this message that we conclude here to our own people, our own party, because my predecessors as youth board members weren't really that interested in international connections. So I think we're the first generation as conservatives that are really trying to get together and to build relationships. And I think we all have to invest more time also in Europe in this particular field to connect each other. And if we manage to do that, I think we still have a chance. And one thing as well, we also have to get the public to know who are the real conservatives and who are the fake conservatives.
Very well said. Who's next?
No, this is a fantastic point. I think the left, we need to study the left. The left has a lot of tactics and strategies that are ideologically neutral, but they can be emulated and replicated for our side to great success. I think a lot of times we look at what the left does, and what does the left do? They have built very strong international connections. The international left is a term that's widely used for a reason, and the right, it tends to be, I can speak to the United States at least, has tended to be a bit parochial in their outlook, but we need to look across the world. And when we discuss the United States in terms of these laboratories of democracy, how you have all these different states that they implement their own policies, you see the positives, the negatives, what they've succeeded at, what they failed at. We need to extend that same vision to our partners across the Atlantic and across the world. And coming to conferences like this, coming to summits like this, where we can learn what's happening in Belgium or Flanders, what's happening in Hungary, what we're seeing in Austria, we can learn, okay, maybe this is the future for the United States in 5-10 years, or maybe we could say, the Hungarians, they did something that we could easily implement here in the United States. But I think a lot of times there's a aversion to doing that. They think, oh, because we're conservatives, we're populists, we're nationalists, we don't have to look elsewhere. We don't have to look for inspiration elsewhere. But I think this is a really ignorant view. It's not just in the present. We should also look to history, and a lot of the things we're facing today. Obviously, history repeats itself. We've seen mass migrations. We've seen the erosion of societies. We've seen the fall of empires. Being able to learn from history, being able to learn from the present, and seeing what's going on in the world and implement that as actual tangible policy solutions and actual tangible political strategy is key. And the cross-pollination of ideas that we see at places like CPAC, we see at summits like this, is absolutely vital. Because I think a lot of times the media, particularly in the United States, likes to present a view of Europe as sort of, the grass is always greener on the other side. I think a lot of Americans that come to Europe, they only come on vacation, they see they see just a segment. And likewise, when Europeans come to the United States, maybe only see a segment, but we don't actually get to see the underbellies of each of our societies. We don't actually get to see the direct impact of a lot of these left-wing policies, what's happening to our cities, what's happening with crime, the prisons, and all the rest. So being able to actually talk in a real, substantive way with our partners and see what are the issues you face, what are the solutions you've come up with, and what can be effectively implemented in our own countries. I mean, this is a perfect solution. This is a perfect path forward, and we should not be scared to emulate tactics of the left. I know in Europe you obviously have an additional layer with the European Parliament and all these different groups, and you guys follow your acronyms and hate each other. These guys hate those guys, even though they agree on 99% of the issues. In the United States, we have a similar issue. A lot of the discussion I heard just previously from my colleague about the real conservatives and the fake conservatives, it also is at play. Just to talk about a similar problem, it's at play in the United States. We don't have these two parties one Christian, conservatives and one more real conservatives. We have these factions within the Republican Party, and the Republican Party kind of operates like a coalition government, and all these different factions are at war with each other right now. And there's a massive civil war going on for the heart and soul of the party. And I think the faction that I represent, the populism, nationalism, conservative, or Trump wing, we are winning. We're winning slowly, and we're slowly taking over the party apparatus. But it is a slugfest, and in many cases, what I see on the other side with people that I share the same party with is that they're the same people, to reiterate the left-wing attacks on, say, Hungary or, say, European conservatives or Israel or whoever. They're the same people to promote these left-wing talking points, but they present themselves as the true conservatives, the real conservatives. So this is an issue that I just heard that Europeans are facing as well. The United States is facing them. So now we can meet and discuss how to deal with these fake conservatives soon. So, okay.
Well said, yeah. Oh, we have somebody on the far right over there to answer.
Oh, yeah, far right, but not so far away from Croatia. Yeah, the topics are very, very great, and it's around us in our lives, especially the immigrants and migrant crisis. So I will do a short summary of maybe both of your questions. Regarding Croatia, there's a few topics that you need to sign if you want to be, right. You need to be, for example, pro-life, religious. You need to be for the free market. You need to be against communism in Yugoslavia, and you can sign up to our party. That's the case, but of course you have that false right or a woke right also in Croatia, who are, like your colleague from Sweden. I agree with you, but just in the toilet, or just when the microphone is off. When they are in politics, then they are, yes, but, and then start the discussion how to maybe not do something, not to be better border control, or how to maybe cooperate with left to get the government done, and so on. Just a few examples from Croatia. We are actually losing our people. Croatian going abroad, especially Germany, and nobody wants to come to Croatia. So we are losing our numbers of citizens, but we can, and I can learn from you what not to do to become and have the problems maybe as you have in Portugal or in Belgium. So when it was the crisis in 2015, all the Syrian immigrants just went through the Croatia, not even saying hello, just in the train and go away. Now we have people that they're just staying for a few days and then going to Germany, but it's silly to see some examples. I have a friend who is in special forces in our police. Besides that, Croatia entered the Schengen program, so now we are the last border of the European Union. If you're looking the south to the Bosnia, Herzegovina, Serbia, and the other countries to the south. So the people are coming to our border 5 times. So my friend, who is a policeman, know that guy. So he beat him up in the wood, put him back to Bosnia, and it coming again and again, whole month. So he know him by the name. So they beat him up every 10 days. They're just coming back and forth. And the guys are not from, I don't know, Ukraine or Syria or some near. They're from Pakistan. What are you doing in Bosnia? You're from Pakistan. It's, I don't know. So they're doing the trip to to Europe of the 20 days of walking. I don't know. They're paying taxi, they're paying buses, they're coming with a lot of money. What do you want to do in Europe? Why do you going from Pakistan to Sweden? I'm sometimes lazy to go out with my friends. You know, he's coming from Pakistan to Portugal. You know, it's not a Morocco, Portugal distance. It's crazy. So that we have all the new immigrants coming from Europe, from all over the Africa, Central Africa, South Africa, and Far East. So the problem is growing, and we are fighting with those wokish liberals who just have signs welcome. Okay, take that guy to your garden and your friend. Oh, no. I'm living in 30 square meters with my boyfriend. It's crazy. Yeah, maybe I can hand the microphone to my colleague.
Very nice and very well said. Let me get that to just over here, and then we'll go to Philip, and then we hear one more, and then go to the next question.
Just one remark. I think as conservatives, our common mistake is that we are being too polite, too timid. That's a problem. We don't have to be aggressive as liberals, but we have to be more courageous. Because what we see, this is a battlefield for our future. The biggest battlefield for the 21st century will be identity. That's for sure. And when the other side is making up for arm wrestling, we are dressed for chess. That's a problem. We are playing in another different field. Because as conservatives, too polite, let's discuss, and we are not learning from them. We should learn from them because they are doing really well with social media, with networking, and what their mistake is that they are making virtual communities. We have to do real life communities. Community building is the key for our success. And that's what I think is the key for our future cooperation, that we can meet with each other, we can shake hands. It's not just a virtual format, it's not just some balloon in the internet, but in real life, friendships, alliances, discussions. And we are not agreeing in everything, with every piece of policies, absolutely not. We should focus on the 6-7 things out of 10 we agreed on, not the other 3-4. Because with the liberal government, we agree on 2 things or 1 thing out of 10. But we agree on 6-7 things, and we should focus on that. Not the divisions and not small things, small policies. With the Republicans in the States, different country, different culture, a big power. Of course, we cannot agree with every policies they make. That's for sure, and that's a natural thing. Even with Croatia, we are neighbors, but we don't agree on everything. But we should focus on the common things, and we should focus on our strengths, and we have to be more courageous to fight this battle, and don't have to be too polite. And I'm not for fighting. I'm not wrestling my shirts, and I'm not doing anything, decisive and strong. We have to be there all the time, and they are making mistakes right now. If you follow the news, if you follow the process going on in the world, they are really angry that their agenda is not going so well throughout the world. Hungary is one of the reasons, but many reasons there, and they want to go faster with their agenda, and becoming faster is it's meaning that they are making mistakes. And based on common sense, we should win absolutely, because the liberals' policy are absolutely lack of logic and common sense. So based on logic and common sense, we can win.
Very well said. I'm going to go to Philip, and then after Philip, anyone who's not spoken. Next. Let's go to the next one.
So also, first of all, good morning, and thank you very much for the invitation. And I would like also to answer like both questions. So I come from Luxembourg, right? We are like the capital, the wealthiest country in the European Union. Everything looks, let's say, pretty nice. But if you take a reality check, you realize that a lot of things have gone sideways. Because since 10 years we have a socialist, liberal, green government. So, for example, criminality has skyrocketed, not in the last 20 years, not by 10%, by 300%. 75% of the prisoners in Luxembourg, also like in Belgium, are foreigners. They have nothing to do with our culture, with our identity. We have something, because we have a lot of borders, we have a border with France, with Belgium, with Germany, we have also something that's called like criminality tourism, right? So people come in, they commit a crime, and then they go out, and you can never really find them. So that's also like an issue that we really have to focus on. Also, Gavin talked about importing, right, new voters. So in 2015, Luxembourg went so far that they made a referendum on foreigners' vote, so that foreigners can vote in national elections. 80% were against it. But nowadays, they changed some other rules, so on communal elections, on local elections, foreigners can vote, just like that. So you can come into the country, you live in Luxembourg for 2 months, and you can vote. So that's just totally insane. So we are really going backwards.
Go there.
Yeah, I mean, we need some backup, right? But, so we have that kind of problem. However, as also my Hungarian friend just said, they go a little bit too far with their agenda. So now you see, we have elections in October, we have elections in June, and you have a lot of parties having their whole party program in Portuguese, in Spanish, in Italian, even in Arabic. And a lot of Luxembourgish people don't like that at all, right? So they kind of shoot themselves in the foot. Also about migration, like in the 60s, 70s, Luxembourg had a lot of also migration from Portugal, from Italy, from Polish. But these are people with Judeo-Christian values. So they came in, they worked during the summer, and then back during the winter, they went back to the country to support their family. So that was really nice. Nowadays, we have that like a open migration where we just say, okay, we take everybody in. We have a socialist minister of foreign affairs who, even when the judges say, no, this guy is not a refugee or is not a migrant, the socialist foreign minister will just sign a letter and they come in. So it's like total insanity. And yeah, we'll try as a party to do the best to change it up in October. And also about like all the international connections, for us it's very, very important, especially for me, because there's like so many different ideas that I've already taken in from some of your parties into my own, party program. And it's so enriching and so nice to see, well, there are also other people all around the world that have the same view, and that's something that I think is very difficult to find, especially in Luxembourg. Now, when I'm now in CPAC, tomorrow they'll be in the newspaper, well, Maximilian is getting radicalized again, whatever, you can see that. Again, yeah. So last year was already after Washington CPAC as well, so this time it will be the same thing. They'll always, put all the selfies that I've done, with Mario Marshall, whatever, so, to try to have a big scandal. However, the youth, and that's something very important, our youth party is growing as the biggest because we're the most active, we're very provocative, we do a lot of activities, and that's something that a lot of other parties are struggling with, that we have the youngest and the most active, let's say, party, and I think that we're going to win big in October.
Very well said. We're all fighting the same battle, just in different locations. We'll go ahead.
Hello, my name is Maria Sinska, and I'm from Czech Republic, and I will also answer these two questions. I'm the member of the party which name is SPD, and in Czech Republic it is considered to be radical and extremist for sure. So first of all, I would like to ask you, why there are persons who are progressivists and who is like from the right wing? Like why I'm, for example, from the right wing. I will tell you one story, because when I was young, I was rather I admire this multicultural ideology, because also my parents had told me that it's enriching and other cultures can tell me a lot of things. So during my studies in high school, I decided to study in France for a whole 1 year. And I came there and I studied with like native French. And I was so excited in the beginning, but after some times I started to be a little bit confused, because there were like people from North Africa, from Central Africa, from Middle East, and it was really interesting that I thought that these whole nations, that they will like speak together. But Africans speak with Africans, like people from Middle East, they spoke together. So I was a little bit confused because I was the only Czech there, and I didn't know what to speak, where I belonged. So I thought that it will be different. And there are also other things that were really interesting. Like, for example, the symbols of your religion belief. You couldn't show your religious belief, but I was in France, so I couldn't understand why I can't show that, for example, I'm a Christian. Why? I don't understand that. And there were also some strange rules, like, for example, when you were in the kitchen or when you were on the lunch, you couldn't have something covering your head. Like, why not? I don't understand that. So I saw a lot of regulations, a lot of rules, and because of what? Because of the people who were coming from other countries. So it was, I didn't feel, all the time I had to think about myself if I don't do anything wrong. And I didn't feel like relaxed in this society. And the most important to say here is that, for example, I was in Nice. Maybe you know Nice. It's one of the cities who is like really in the south of France. So you can imagine that there is a lot of migrants from northern Africa. And when I went out from the internat, from the school, there were all the time, there were other men on the street. And they were like looking at me, they were questioning me something all the time. And for example, in 3 months, I didn't have dates to go out because all the time there were men questioning me something. For example, there were men and he asked me, oh, can you go out with me to have some meat? And I told him, no, thank you. But when I told him no, he thought that I don't want the meat. So he told me, okay, do you want to play a billiard? No, thank you. So he thought that I don't want to play a billiard. So I didn't know what to do, like, what can the girl like, in this situation can do? So in that time, I told myself, no, this is not good, and in future, I will fight against this because I don't feel safe, and I think that I'm not alone. I think that there are a lot of French girls and French women who feel the same, but like, they say nothing. And this is the question about cooperation. I think, okay, we can cooperate, but a lot of people, they are afraid to cooperate. So I think that it's time to change a little bit mainstream, because if you are afraid to say what you feel, that you are afraid to say that you are afraid, it's not good. And they, all the time, they told us, you have to tolerate them. You have to tolerate other cultures. Okay, I agree, but who will tell other cultures and other men that they have to tolerate me? Okay, thank you.
I know we're a little pressed on time, so I'll get to the next question. We know that liberal ideologies are ingrained in schools and universities. It's basically a factory for their ideology. And how can young people be armed against this indoctrination? And for that, let's go to Philip.
Yes, thank you very much. I think the answer can be a bit the same as the previous one. Like Gavin said, we need to learn a lot from the left. And you couldn't be more right. What we see is that the left, not only international, but also on national level, they have really good organizations. They took over our education system, they took over the media, and that's something we have to do as well. And if I look today, I always make a joke, but actually it's not that funny. If you put three left-wing people in a room together for 1 week, they come out and they started together one organization that will go strong. If you put 3 right-wing men together in a room, after 1 week you have 5 organizations and they hate each other. But
it's a problem.
Yeah. That's why I said, actually, it's not funny. It's a problem. We really need to learn from them to unite ourselves. And for the same purpose as your question is that we need to weaponize ideology and with ideas our youth. We can do it as youth parties by organizing summer universities like my party does every year, and I know a lot of parties here at the table they do as well. By having our own newspapers, by educating them. It's also something the left always say, educate yourself, but we have to educate our youth in the right way, with the truth, with common sense, and I think that's the most important thing.
Very well said. Audience for you has not spoken twice. Promise?
Yeah. I think that a great solution that everybody of us need to go back to their countries and open the markets. As long as there is a big competition, our voice can be more louder. We are the Israelis looked after the Fox News in America, and then we said, okay, we can have our rights TV channel in our country. So we opened a 14 channel. That's how it's called. It's now 14. That's our right-wing voice can be more louder, and it's only because the competition. There's more competition and more right-wing voice getting better.
Very well said. Audience committee to my left over here has not answered twice. Jose?
Can I? Sorry. Please. I think that regarding the previous question, we really need to cooperate, because as something that I could see from these past few days in the CPAC is that we all identify the same problems in our country, so somehow we are in this fight together. So absolutely we are stronger together too. So we definitely need to keep an eye together, to keep looking to what each other is doing, because we can really learn from the best practice here. Regarding to this question in particular, we in Portugal we are feeling that ideology coming out and spreading out in the schools. Something that my party did was to create a platform where students can complain about bad practices that are doing in the classrooms. And that, I must tell you something, that really worked out. We are receiving hundreds of people that are complaining about some teacher what he said about history, some teacher that's saying about our leader, or about the history classes, science classes. And so we really are understanding what is really going on the classes. But also something that came out is the parents. And the parents finally realized what is happening in the schools during the COVID time, where most of families stuck together in their houses, and they could see what they are teaching to the kids, to their kids, and we suddenly started having like a revolution of the parents that said, no, not my kids, not that anymore. And we are feeling that on the party, and something that is coming out that the parents are really getting together and creating movements, asking teachers, asking to schools, going to the boards of the schools, creating associations of parents. So that thing is something that is coming very natural to in Portugal. And also other thing that I believe that is really important that we must do, we need to occupy universities. We need to occupy the public space. We need to occupy them. We need to go to debate with them, because they really don't want to debate with us. They are afraid to debate with us. And every time that they debate with us, we win. We win because I can tell you a story. Last year we had national elections in Portugal, and I was doing some debates in some high schools. And at a certain point, the fake conservatives they were saying that for the first time they were defending an abortion law. And we said that no, we are pro-life, we defend life from the conception. And you can't imagine how people, students there react to that, and teachers. And we had many kids that was the first time that they were hearing a person saying that they were against abortion, or they were against some these laws. It was the first time also that they were hearing that there are people also defending the nation and the Europe of nations, not federalism. So we really need to go up there and need to go to the fight, because they don't want that. They assume that all the camp is from there. So I'm 100% with that. Thank you.
We're all set, Jose, and unfortunately we're running out of time, so I'll hand it over to Frank Lang and Davide for some closing remarks.
Yeah, we'd like for you to do for the closing. Do you hear me?
Yes.
I would like to introduce for the closing remarks my good friend, a member of the Italian Parliament, Simone Guidi. So Simone, if you want to say something.
Thank you. I would like to participate in this discussion, just introducing some other different topics, because please let me say, I don't want to say the problems, I want to say, let's say, the topics on which we have to work in the next future are a lot. Okay, immigrants, maybe it's one, but there are also additional very important topics for our people, for our gens in Europe and also outside Europe, for example in New York, in US, or in Israel. For example, just for improve the discussion and promote the discussion, I want to focus attention on the European Green New Deal. It is also in US something similar with electric cars, with alternative energy. That's for me another topic on which we should focus the attention, on which we should start a good discussion, on which we should start also to read and to understand something more. The left parties, as usual, are in a completely different position, and please let me say, today I really do not understand yet the reason why left party goes in such strong direction with the Green New Deal. Because for sure the climate change is a problem, we need to work to improve the situation, but please consider that, at least for me, Green New Deal in a so quickly way, not in long, not in medium term, but in short term, as for example European Union want to do with a lot of new directive. It's no good. It's no good for mainly for the middle class. With a Green New Deal so quickly, with this new European directive put in place, the European middle class, and maybe also in other countries, because these European directives are are similar to directive in other countries outside Europe. This directive could, the people should pay a lot for putting in place this directive in so short term. And so the main problem will be for middle class and also for the low class. So please be careful. We have a lot of issue. I don't want to say, I repeat, I don't want to say problems, but we have a lot of issue, a lot of topics on which we need to deal in the next future. Focus on all of them. I'm personally available with all of you. Please do not hesitate to contact me in any case. And thanks again, and very compliments. For me, I did not imagine to find a lot of young people here today. So for me, it's a very, very, very good signal that something is moving in a very good way and in a strong way. So please continue to work in this way and continue to do what you are doing. So thank you again.
Thank you very much. And I think I speak for all of us when I say we could very easily spend the rest of the day discussing these issues. But unfortunately, many of us have flights to catch back to our own countries. And so we'll end it here. I know there's beverages up there. Some of us will stick around. Thank you again for coming. It's truly my distinct pleasure and honor to host this. To be here with all of you, like-minded patriots from your own respective countries. So thank you again, and I look forward to the next one.
Thank you.